Was there an initial sense of regret?
Absolute fear and absolutely, oh my God, what have we done?
In the dead quiet of Tasmania's Central Highlands, a silent battle is unfolding.
The bush here was still showing a lot of damage. We're doing this bit by bit.
A lost ghost town sits frozen in time.
It was virtually a ghost town before Llyr came. What they've done is quite remarkable, I think.
Yet one couple is uncovering its secrets, resurrecting a place history tried to write off. So you would say that the sole aim is to prevent it from being declared a ghost town, really?
We are literally in the middle of everywhere, in the middle of nowhere.
Imagine buying a town you've never even laid eyes on, not to mention a ghost town. Well, recently, New South Wales couple Llyr Otto and her husband Kurt did just that, buying half of the town of Waddamana in Tasmania without ever seeing it for themselves. When they did finally arrive, it was an old derelict hydro village with broken houses, empty streets, and a history long forgotten. And just yesterday, I went there for myself, meeting with Llyr Otto and watching her try to somehow reopen the town while uncovering major pieces of forgotten history along the way.
We had decided we were going to retire to Tasmania. It was the middle of COVID and I saw an ABC ad that said, buy half a town in Tasmania for less than the cost of a Sydney apartment. And I went, I know where Waddamana is. It's amazing because it's in the middle of nowhere. And so we put our house on the market and within 4 weeks we'd sold that. We bought Waddamana sight unseen. This has been our 4th winter and I haven't even thought about a thermal. I still walk around in, t-shirts some days.
Wow.
And it's quite funny because you get very used to it.
So take me through the restoration process. When you see one of these houses, for starters, where does it go from there?
Where does it go from here? This was an engineer's house. When you got to be an engineer in Waddamana, there were plans and you could pick your house. This house, inside, we've put a new firebox. This one's over 100 years old. One of the most important things is to get movement, consistent heat, living in it, because that's what keeps the building alive.
You mentioned the Franklin River Dams case. You were part of the protest with that and the pushback against it. Did that serve as another influence towards your purchase of Waddamana?
I think it was quite ironic because it was a hydro town and we bought half a hydro town. We also live next to the old Waddamana power station. We're actually the closest residents to the turbines.
The Waddamana power station started as a private venture in 1910 and it was taken over by the Tasmanian government in 1914. And this is where it all began for Hydro Tasmania. It was the first power station that the state actually owned. There were plans for expansion, but that was delayed due to the First World War.
So how did you and your husband first react when you drove into Waddamana?
The bush here was still showing a lot of damage from the 2018-19 fires. No one had lived in Waddamana for quite a long time.
And in that process of discovery, was there an initial sense of regret when you arrived here and saw Waddamana?
Not regret, bit of panic, absolute fear and absolutely, oh my God, what have we done and how are we going to manage this? Which is why we have a 15-year plan.
Tell me about that 15-year plan and what's involved with it.
There's only 2 of us, it's my husband and I. We do have a wonderful team, including a builder who is a friend of ours as well, who has that sense of history. It's about understanding that old buildings aren't the same as new buildings. Yes.
Is it more a communal restoration or a historical restoration?
One of the things about Waddamana is restoring a sense of community to Waddamana, and that was one of the reasons we now have a cafe. We converted into a little commercial kitchen. It was built in the 50s, we believe. A crib room, so where workers came and had their lunches and things. It was then a workshop. What we decided was, when we really found the coffee van was too small, that it was still a very sturdy building. So our builder, we hunted around, found the same, all the wood on the front is old wood that we found bits and pieces of, matched it all up, and this is now our cafe. When Waddamana was at its height, it had a town milkman to deliver milk in a pail every morning to every house in Waddamana. There were fantastic dances here where everyone dressed up and the whole town went to the hall. There was a school here, so kids went to school and they had school slippers because it was so cold. It was a very different life here because here was here. You couldn't get in or out. Sometimes there were 3 feet of snow. People were self-sufficient and they really did make their community. The Singleman's Quarters story is a little sad. The last gentleman was here. He was a survivor from World War II and he had what was probably very significant PTSD, and he felt safe here. So Hydro said to him he could no longer live here. They set up a house for him in Powhatina, took him to see the house and said, this is where you'll live and you'll be safe here. And the night before he was due to move, he committed suicide in the Singleman's Quarters because he wouldn't leave Waddamana because it was the only place he felt safe, because people accepted him. He felt safe and he couldn't move. And I often feel him here. I don't think he's a ghost. I just think that he didn't want to leave here, and I'm a bit like him. But yeah, it's
and that's
sad.
The same place you're trying to restore today,
Yeah.
with that same sense of safety.
Safety, because he was very traumatised by the war.
And what's the main drive for you to unabandon this town? Why is it so important to you, other than developing a sense of community?
Waddamana had lost that sense of someone caring for it. Restoring Waddamana and living here at Waddamana and forming a community here at Waddamana is respect for country as well as everything else. And Waddamana has been a place of safety for many, many peoples over many years. Once the power stations were decommissioned, there was no need for a town anymore, for a hydro town.
Would you still classify Waddamana as a ghost town?
It's certainly not in the height of when they were building the power station and the subsequent operation of the power station. There's a sizable community here, so I suppose you could say yes, it still is a ghost town pretty well. Llyr and Kurt are expanding it to a degree in that they've converted a lot of the houses into accommodation. They plan to put a small caravan park in. So yes, there is some sort of expansion, but back to its former days, no, I don't think so. It was virtually a ghost town before Llyr came, and her and her husband Kurt, what they've done is quite remarkable, I think. It's breathing life back into the town, and it complements, people come and have a coffee and then they'll come and visit the museum or vice versa.
We would love to restore the tennis court, which is heritage listed, so it has to be restored in a very particular way, but we would love to open it so we can have community tennis going on here on the Highlands. The tennis court was the first to have night lights installed.
Really?
So after the workers, the guys did their evening shift, they came down and played a game of tennis. Apparently, an abandoned town is one with less than 10 people in it. I don't think Waddamana is abandoned because on the weekends there's lots more than 10 people in it. All places, they evolve, something's built and then something else is put on. This is Staff House Creek. It was a man-made creek, basically, and it brought water down to the dairy. and there's a big tiger snake who lives just down there, and he doesn't bother us, we don't bother him. They love water, but he comes out and one day he was here across the road, and there was all these people here. They all rushed into the cafe and said, "There's a big snake outside, what are you going to do?" And I said, "Nothing, he lives here." He wandered across the road and went off up the grass, and they're all going, "But it's a big snake and it's in town." I love that image of when people go, "But you had a Tasmanian devil outside your window last night." And I said, "Yeah, it was really noisy, it was fighting with the possums, you know." And they go, "Oh my God," and I go, "Oh yeah," and I had to push the deer out of the way when I came out the door this morning to come up early to cook the pies, and they go, "Oh my God, in town," and you go, yeah, it's different. The Highlands is very different in that way.
What would you say to people who don't know about Waddamana?
Come and see it, but come and experience something that is different than the usual, I suppose, of going on a tourist trail, going to a cafe, going to a museum. There's something different about Waddamana.
Real Random Studios is proudly independent, and if you enjoy this show, I only ask one thing: hit subscribe on YouTube and follow Real Random Studios wherever you can.